should we have kept in some way, shape or form a reduced core of military personnel along with the US and or NATO?
Well, that's what the plan was, and it was fine until President Trump decided, for whatever reason, that he wanted to get out, and set the process in train that has led to it. But President Biden didn't have to go along with it. He could have cancelled it. There was no, as I understand it, great political pressure in the US nor in this country. We, even after it all happened, although lots of people were saying they didn't like it at the time, I don't remember our leaders complaining about it. And I think if all of NATO had got together and said to President Biden, this is wrong, we don't think you should do it, and certainly not in the way you are intending, then I don't think President Biden could have done it, because it would have been a major break within NATO's ranks. As it was, they discussed it at the G7, I accept that, but I don't think it was done with the sort of seriousness and intensity that the situation demanded.
So who bears the greater blame, would you say, Lord Richards, or are they equally culpable? Former President Trump or President Biden?
I'm afraid it's got to be President Biden. He had the opportunity to at least change the parameters and to insist that the Taliban did, offer up some compromises. There was none in the agreement that was reached. But I also think our own political leaders, I won't, I'm afraid, describe them as statesmen. I think there is such a shortage today of statesmen and of an understanding of statecraft and geostrategy. But our own political leaders, and I mean European political leaders and the Australians and others, just went along with it. And the result is that we are now entering a more dangerous phase after 20 years of hard graft and much sacrifice and many broken promises to the Afghan people. That's why I say it is morally as well as strategically an illiterate decision.
A lot of candour about US presidents. Can I ask you your view of the stewardship of Prime Minister Boris Johnson over this?
Now, look, I may be retired, Nick, but
it's worth a try, sir.
Yeah, I mean, he was very focused on COVID and all these sort of things. But I would say, and I have said this publicly, he's not helped by what I think is a rather broken command and control system. We call it command and control, but the National Security Council and COBRA is just not fit for 21st century conflict, let alone managing, less serious, arguably, but for those involved, hugely serious issues like, fires and foot and mouth and all these things. The pace of events in this era is so much greater, and decisions have to be taken on an informed basis much earlier. And it's just not right. And I'm encouraging those in politics who understand this to ask Mr. Johnson whether he shouldn't review that process and set up something that I would call perhaps a command and communications or a coordination and communications centre that is fit for 21st century life.
Last couple of questions. This is never an easy word to put to a military bloke, but was Afghanistan a defeat, Lord Richards?
Ultimately, sadly, it was a defeat. And I'm very clear as a result of that, with an eye on history, as all good soldiers have, that we now need to come to terms with our defeat, put the people of Afghanistan first and foremost, and negotiate in a much more active way with people who we would rather not negotiate with. But because of our failings at the strategic level, no, we were never defeated, rather like the American army in Vietnam. We were never defeated at the tactical level, where the soldiers did brilliantly for all those years. But we have been defeated at the strategic level, and we need to come to terms with it.
So the price that was paid in personnel, in treasure, as it's called, and of course those still suffering the physical and emotional aftermath, General, was it the price worth paying?
I think we must look back on it and say yes, because for 20 years, those people who chose to take us up on the offer flourished in Afghanistan. I'm thinking of women, children, the health system, the economy grew. There was a buzz about it every time I went there. Yes, there was failures of governance. There's no doubt about that. But it was worth it for 20 years, and it was most of all worth it because we were safer as a result of what we were doing. We've now been pitched back into a dark period, which we somehow got to manage. And the only real answer to your question will be understood, I think, in maybe 3 to 5 years, when we see whether or not there has been a genuine turnaround in the Taliban and that we can do business with them, and that as a result of that, the long-term solution is better than we today fear.
I'm putting it in my diary already to talk to you in 3 to 5 years' time.